Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the brand new, well kind of, it was here and then it wasn't here and now it's back, Borodino, the Russian Tier 7 Stalingrad Vladdy? Question mark? We'll go over it. First of all, let's look at our commander. We're running Left Galler, the accuracy commander, because I want to actually hit what I'm shooting at. We have Andrew Cunningham and Scharnhorst as our inspirations. This thing has pretty good grouping most of the time, so I feel like just getting better overall dispersion is probably for the best. Just to try to get the extra railguns, because you're going to need them. It's the only thing you got going for you. But flammable cannoneer, gyrating drill bits, marksmanship, and reaching out XXL, and we are running fight fire with fire. Okay. For the overall equipment, we are running aiming systems mod 1, propulsion mod, concealment system mod, and epic main battery reload mod. Now, unfortunately, that does slow down our turrets, but you definitely want to try to get these turrets reloading a little bit faster as you do damage, which we will showcase in the match that you're about to see. So, now let's look at our loadout. One of the things that I need to point out for you guys is that you do have radar, just like the Stalingrad, okay? You are essentially a Stalingrad, but you also have infinite damage controls, just like the Stalingrad. So keep that in mind. You don't have to worry about, like, running out of damage controls. It's a normal damage control, though it is only 15 seconds duration, so you got to be careful. Make sure you're getting out of the position where you're going to get shot again or flooded potentially, so that you're not taking a perma fire or flood. But Italian Unity flag, because if you squint just right, kind of looks like a Spartan helmet, and of course the Type 9 camo, which is the fancy camo for the ship. Survivability, 60,400 hit points, so pretty low for a Tier 7 battleship. To put that into perspective, the Iowa-class battleships have about 72,000 hit points. But you got to remember, this is essentially a Stalingrad at Tier 7, okay? So keep that in mind. 24% torque reduction. For main guns, you got the 406mm 50 caliber B-37 Mark 1s. You get 6 of them, and they're all at the front, okay? There is absolutely no reason to go broadside in this ship, ever. And if you do, you will regret it. Always. Firing range with this build, 19.4 kilometers. Reload time, 25.2 seconds base to start with in this. Obviously, as we get our damage during the match, that will get steadily faster. 180-degree turn time for these turrets is sub 30 seconds, despite having the nerf to our turret traverse, so keep that in mind. They're not too bad. HE shell maximum damage 6,047 with a 40% chance to set fires, but you shouldn't be shooting HE very often out of this unless you're shooting at a destroyer. AP shell maximum damage with this build is 14,850, which is pretty spicy. Secondaries, you got 180mm 65 caliber SM45s. You get 4 of those total. That's it. They're at the back of the ship. 5.2 kilometer firing range with a 6-second reload. 180mm secondaries with 6 seconds reload is pretty spicy, but there's only 4 guns total, so keep that in mind. They fire HE for 2,500 maximum damage, but a 13% chance to set fires. But again, they're at the back of the ship, so they're almost never going to be useful. Unless, of course, you're cutting away from somebody, but they'll probably get destroyed anyway. AA defense, supposedly good, but not as good as you'd think. 25mm 4 M120s, you get 48 of those, never mind. Yes, 48 of those, doing 101 damage per second, reaching out to 3.1 kilometers. 57mm ZIF 31B, you get 24 of those, doing 212 damage per second, reaching out to 4 kilometers. And then you have the 180mm 65 caliber SM45 dual purpose secondaries. You get 4 of those, doing 35 damage per second, reaching out to 5 kilometers. So again, you have some AA potential there, but in practice, it's not as nice as you'd hope. Maneuverability, maximum speed is 27.9 knots with this build. If you took off gyrating drill bits, you could get that a little bit better. Turning circle is horrendous, just like the Stalingrad. Rudder shift, if you wanted to, you could get the rudder shift better, but again, it's not really that important because you don't have extra guns at the back that you're trying to get on target, so you pretty much stay in bow in most of the time. But remember, this thing has the exact same problem that the Stalingrad has, which is it starts to turn, and then it just stops turning for an eternity, and you get sent back to port faster than you realize. So don't get baited into turning, okay? Even if you're trying to think about kiting away from somebody, that turn will take much longer than you think, okay? It's gotten me yeeted so many times, it's ridiculous. Not just in this ship, but also in the Stalingrad. And we will show that in a moment. But concealment is actually pretty good in this ship. Detectability by sea is 13.3, which is actually really good. You could get that down into the 12s, I'm pretty confident, if you ran like Kondo as an inspiration. I'm sure Zarki probably did. Detectability range by air is 11.2. Guaranteed is always 2. And then detectability while firing in smoke, 14.9 kilometers. Stats, probably not going to be very good for you. I'll be completely honest. Yeah, 47% win rate. Again, this most of the games that I played were in the same night that I was trying to get the game in the destroyer, the Velos, and I was struggling with just the worst games ever. Okay, so not necessarily ship's fault. As you can see, we were averaging 101,000 damage during these games. We're just losing, so I don't think it's necessarily the ship's fault. It's gonna get its damage in, though you do have to be careful. The carry potential of this ship is gonna be a little bit limited, just simply due to the fact that like you've got to position perfectly, because if anybody flanks you, it's over. You don't pass go, you don't collect $200. Why is that? Well, let's get into the armor. And one of the reasons that you got to be careful when you're bow tanking people is you only have a 25mm bow. You do have an extended belt, as you can see, that goes all the way to the front. Some people call it an icebreaker. I call it what it is. It's an extended belt, right? Your belt armor is back here. This is the extended belt, okay? But you have 50mm of extended belt, okay? The 100mm is part of the actual, like, armor belt or torpedo protection, whatever you want to call it. All right? So 25mm can be overmatched by anything 15 inches and above, which is pretty much everything. So don't think that you can just sit there bow in. Try to angle, lift the skirt a little bit, but don't over angle, because if you do, let's explain why this ship gets yeeted. You thought you had an armor belt. You don't have an armor belt. You have an exposed citadel. So if you go broadside or you over angle at all, this citadel sits so far above the water line, I'm pretty confident a freaking destroyer could potentially citadel this thing. Like, it's insane. It is slightly sloped, but it's not enough. And like I said, if anybody goes through the bow, if they go in through the bow like this, they're not likely to citadel you. But if they go in through at this angle in front of the turrets, they can absolutely send you back to port. And then, of course, if they catch you broadside, it's a wrap. Ain't nobody with any size guns, anything heavy cruiser and above, easily will send you packing. Okay, so be careful. Don't show broadside in this ship, just like in Stalingrad. You can't do it. Long reach, above average main battery range. Hit them before they can hit you. That is one of the perks of the ship, and it is very accurate. Okay, keep that in mind. This ship is very accurate, especially if you go full accuracy build. Superior AP damage, above average AP shell damage. Superior AP penetration, above average AP shell penetration. The Borodino, a small battleship project developed in the early 1950s with main armament consisting of several heavy guns concentrated at her fore end. Such ships were designed to act in groups and cope with any full-fledged battleship. She was designed in 1952, never built. Overall, I mean, I like it. It is a little odd that we don't have a rear turret, but again, we have the big secondaries at the back, much like the Jean Bart. So it's not completely hideous in that sense. I also do like the fact that this is a more overall balanced looking design compared to the Jean Bart or you know, a Nelson. A lot of these funky battleships ended up with looking like oil tankers, and fortunately this isn't one of them. I do like the look of this ship. I like to play the ship, but please just remember, if you get caught broadside or over angled by anything heavy cruiser and above, you're going to regret life choices. So with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Sleeping Giant, and we're in the Borodino. And I'm going to show you, or try to show you, the strengths of the ship. Now, in this particular match, we don't really get to see much of the weakness, but you guys have already heard me talk about the weakness of the ship. The primary weakness is the 25mm bow that can be overmatched by anything 15 inches and above. And if you over-angle, this thing has an exposed citadel that will absolutely get you yeeted. So, you guys know the downsides, right? We're going to showcase the upsides of the ship. Much like the Stalingrad, this thing is absolutely railguns when it wants to be. And will troll you occasionally. It is Russian after all, so that you will get a couple of salvos that are a bit sus at best. However, it is still a very, very good ship, despite its weakness. Especially for those people who are interested in sniping. Okay, this is another Champagne-esque style of ship, except you don't have to go broadside, you can stay bow in. But you've got to pay attention, you got to plan out your moves ahead of time, because again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Do not get caught over-angled in this ship. You will regret it. But at the beginning of this match, we're going to actually put ourselves in a position to try to counter any potential push into the middle of the map. Our T-61 is going to push in. We know that the enemy has a couple of destroyers. One is Friesland, one is a Jaeger, and both of those are going to be in our vicinity. So if we can put ourselves in a position, and this T-61 cannot get himself into bad position, we can potentially help our team get rid of a destroyer early on, right? Unfortunately, what ends up happening is that our destroyer engages their destroyers. You see them already been spotted on the map, right? So our destroyer ends up engaging their destroyer in a position where I can't help him, right? This is something you should probably try to keep in mind. And look at the enemy Atlantico pushing in as well. I'm going to try to use the island cover as best I can. The enemy Jaeger's here. Now, Jaeger does not have a smoke screen, so if he's spotted, he can't really disengage. It's going to be possible for the ZF6 to do what he's going to do. I don't know why I said T-61. ZF6. But we're going to take a shot here again at the Atlantico. Unfortunately, as soon as we do, the Hampshire gets spotted. Our destroyer wisely decides that he needs to get the heck out of there, right? Like, it's not going to end well for him if he stays around. He's got a Friesland there. He's got the destroyer, the Jaeger there. I apologize. I'm doing this after the stream ended from today's ranked battles, but he's got the Atlantico there, the Hampshire there. Like, he can't stay there. You see the amount of shells going in his direction. Not ideal. Now, our other destroyer comes in for good measure to try to help. We somehow missed every one of those shots. Now, I know there's a battleship coming around the right flank, and our Siegfried is going to go that direction to try to engage. Now, the enemy carrier's coming over here. We're backing up into a position where we can try to go through the Atlantico's cheek here. I don't know if I've got the pin angles to do it, but we won't know until we try, right? We do manage to juke out the carrier's shot there. Unfortunately, we do not get the pins that I was hoping. But since he already fired, we're going to go ahead and turn away. We can disengage, use the island to protect us, and we're going to be able to get through or try to turn. And this is where we showcase the just impossible turning of the ship. It just does not turn. It starts to turn, and then it takes forever to get beyond that halfway point. Like, it just sits there broadside forever. And I've talked about this with the oh, what do you call it? The Stalingrad a lot. Where it seems like it's going to turn, and you commit, and then all of a sudden it just stops turning like halfway through the turn. It's annoying at best. But carriers got it out for us. We do want to keep an eye on the crossfires. We do have a main pushing up, and he's in a position that we could potentially crossfire here, so we want to take a shot at that if we can. We don't have the best look in the world in terms of like where we're aiming. We're just trusting auto aim on this shot. I probably could have aimed a little further back. We do get 3 overpins hitting towards the front of the ship. The Enterprise comes in with the world's slowest torpedoes, and even they can catch up to it, unfortunately. But he's going to hit us with 3 of these. All 3 of them are going to hit. One of them that hits my torp protection causes a flood. And I unwisely end up using my damage control right off the rip. right? Like, sometimes you just got to let that go for a moment, let all the planes finish doing what they're doing. And I'm not going to lie, that Atlantico sneaking that shot through the island, I did not see that coming. That could have been bad. But if this torp had caused a flood, I would have uninstalled the game, I think. But it would have been my fault because, again, I should have waited until the planes were done dropping before I decided to use my damage control there. But as you've seen, the AA on this thing, while it can shoot down planes, they still get multiple drops off on you, right? So you've got to be very, very careful. It's good on paper, not so much in practice. But as we try to push up, you can see the enemy Odin is there, and for whatever reason, our Siegfried just decides to go full goof mode. Now here, we get a beautiful look at the enemy Atlantico as he's pushing around. The main ends up dev striking our Nebraska, which is real unfortunate. You can see the positioning of the Nebraska. Nebraska was kind of nosing around the corner, and he got absolutely yeeted. But we take a shot at the enemy Atlantico, and unfortunately, none of those shells end up hitting. But our Siegfried, instead of engaging the Odin, which he should have an advantage against the Odin, right? Like, yeah, Odin has sonar, he has sonar. Odin has torps, but he has torps. I mean, they're very similar ships. But the Odin doesn't overmatch the Siegfried, right? Siegfried doesn't overmatch Odin either because Odin is Battleship. It's got 32 millimeters of bow and stern plating. But the Odin has 305s and the Siegfried has 380s, right? So you've got the firepower advantage. Plus, I'm pretty sure that we have more torps on the Siegfried than we have on the Odin. But I digress. I can't help that. You see, he is actually trying to engage the Odin. And I don't know if he missed his shot or what, but it doesn't look like he ended up doing any damage there. But notice that I'm taking a wide berth around this island. The Odin has already shown that he's coming back my way. So I want to make sure that I am bow in. He has 305 millimeter guns. He does not overmatch us. One of the ships that we don't have to worry about overmatches. So just going straight bow in and making sure that he doesn't have any chance to yeet us. Now, we don't have a chance to Citadel the Odin most likely, so we just aim a little bit up the side of the ship, get as many pins as possible. We do end up with 5 hits out of the 6 guns, so we can't get much better than that, right? It's about as good a hit as we're going to get on the Odin. But Odin immediately starts to bow tank us. We know that the Odin has torps off the back. But in order to use those torpedoes, he's going to have to open the angle up again. I'm not going to wait around for it either. I'm just going to go ahead and start shooting superstructure, potentially knock out a gun, and use the island to protect us from any potential torpedoes that he may try to send our way. If he wants to come out, he's going to put himself in a crossfire between me and the Siegfried. And you can see Siegfried is now bow in, back against the Odin. So if he can put himself in a good position here, he should be able to get a nasty hit on this Odin. And then I'm going to go for superstructure again. Also, Odin is starting to get farmed from the battleship on the left corner over there by the island next to the destroyer. I look over, Siegfried has lost a good chunk of his hit points. Not ideal, but again, I don't know why he pushed out into the open over there. I don't know if he thought he could chase down the carrier or if he thought he was going to kill the enemy Atlantico or what. But Atlantico did eventually die. I didn't get to see who did it, but Atlantico did finally die. You can see torpedoes from the Odin, so we're now going to push in. We are aware of the fact the Odin is flipping back around. We are sonarred, so we've got to keep in mind that he does have potential to torp us again. So what do we want to do? We want to make it look like we're coming around the corner at full speed, and then at the last second, we're going to slow down and turn in and just stick close to the island. And then it's a low enough corner of an island that we can use the island to shield us from the Odin, but also get shots into the superstructure to try to finish this man off. We take the shot, and we end up taking just enough off of him to leave him with just enough for somebody else to kill. But he is going to go down pretty quick here from all the incoming fire. I don't see any torpedoes coming, so we're going to go ahead and just push in. We do have a potential look here at the main. Again, not the best look at the main. He's just kind of playing with us. I think he's well aware that he's in a crossfire, so he's doing the best that he can to try to avoid getting smacked by me. But for the moment, we have map control, right? This is cap and map control, actually, because we have 2 caps, they have 1 cap, so we're gaining more points. We have map control because we have crossfires set up. They have to pay attention to what's going on, or they're going to end up putting themselves in bad position to get smashed. Now, Summers shows himself. We're going to go ahead and take a shot and try to get rid of him. And just before we get the shot out there, he actually does go down. Unfortunately, these guys do manage to take out another battleship. So our team is not exactly winning by a lot, okay? And it's going to get closer before the end of this match, which is silly because our team didn't need to play the way that they did here at the end of this game. But you'll see what I mean in a moment. Now, Hampshire is starting to push out, and I need to get around the island here. I can't shoot currently because the island's in the way, the one that's closest to me. Unfortunately, Hampshire ends up taking out Shimanto. Again, just all my teammates are trying to get themselves put into a position where they're getting shot, right? This is not an ideal scenario. We have the lead. There's no reason for it. Now, Hampshire comes around the corner. He knows I'm here. He's spotting me. And so I'm waiting for the potential. Now, I go ahead and radar here because I thought maybe there was a chance that I radar him or the other destroyer. We know the other destroyer was out on the far left of the map. We know it's a Friesland. But I just thought maybe there was a chance that we could radar him. We end up radaring the main, and we get a couple of overpins shooting high on the Hampshire because he's close to the island. I wanted to make sure I get some sort of damage off of him. But staying close to this Siegfried is allowing both of us to have some AA, and our carrier is actually being harassed by the planes at the moment, which is fine with me because now I'm in a good position to defend the Bravo cap. The only thing that was left behind us was the carrier, and he's clearly moved around the map, so now it's down to just this Hampshire. The Friesland's all the way out on the outside, and you can see I will take a shot at him to try to help our teammate because I know a gunfight with a Friesland generally doesn't end well for most destroyers. And despite taking the shot here, our guy is going to go down, and unfortunately, the Friesland is going to end up just sailing away from those shells. Was hoping to take him out there, didn't end up happening. But at the end of the day, it's Friesland. He's a long ways away. He's not really a threat. However, the main decides to make a critical error. Like, this guy knew we were here. I was spotted for majority of this time, but he knows us around the corner, and we just absolutely punish him for it. Again, you can't do that, man. I've talked about it many and many times. Coming around islands in anything is almost certain death. You just can't do it, especially in any sort of American battleship or really any battleship. Even turtleback armored battleships, if you come around at that angle, there's a good chance that I go through your cheek and into your citadel around the turtleback. Your turtleback protects the side of the citadel, does not protect the front and the rear of the citadel. So there is a real possibility of going through the cheek there and slashing or just slamming that citadel. Now, again, pay attention to what happens with the Siegfried here. There's no reason for our guys to be throwing themselves out here like this. There's none. We got a 400-point lead, but they all want that damage, right? Everybody wants the damage. Well, we've got a beautiful look here. We get beautiful railguns and take him for 2/3 of his health, leaving him with enough to absolutely ruin this Siegfried as he comes around the corner. The carrier is also right there to support his teammate. And then the Siegfried comes around the corner, fires all of his guns, completely does no damage, doesn't launch his torpedoes, doesn't get anything away, and the Hampshire ends up taking him out. Again, I don't understand it, but it is what it is. I can't fix it, right? And then the destroyers go out of their way to try to throw this match, right? So at this point, I'm just like, okay, I need to kill everything, because otherwise, this game's going to end with me being sad. So I'm like, I'm committed. I know this guy's torping. We're not stupid, so we're going to use the island. And then we're going to come around the corner, and we're going to shoot right through the back. I know I overmatched. There's no problem there. And we slap him right through the rear of the ship. Right? But these guys are all trying to throw it. It's just like, guys, for the love of God, it's really not that difficult. Look, our carrier's even in a position where a ship that has very good AA in the Friesland is chasing him, and he was sitting still for a little while. It's like, why? Why are you sitting there? Run. Just go away. He's got to get close enough to be able to shoot you in order to damage you. He has no torpedoes, so just run. Right? We know the carrier's nearby because the carrier's last known was headed in this direction, and he had us spotted. So we're going to go ahead and try to get rid of this carrier at the same time, because there's no reason to leave this guy alive. But we're less than a minute left. Our team has a huge lead. It would be impossible for us to lose at this point unless some miraculous failure occurs, and he ends up killing all of us, right? I probably should have stayed in the cap here to try to get that cap assist, but at this time I was like, you know what? I'm not worried about it. We've shot down 14 planes. We've got 2 kills. I just want to push out and just keep this Enterprise getting slapped around. We do get a Citadel there, but unfortunately we also ricochet 2 shells off the Enterprise, which is absurd to me, given where those shells landed. I don't think the Enterprise has armor that good on the side of the ship, but doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I am going to get reloaded with just enough time to make sure that he does not escape this match. And bonk. Beautiful. Down he goes. 162,000 damage, 3 kills, 14 planes shot down. We've done our job. High caliber. No dreadnought or anything like that, because we really didn't take a lot of damage in this one, other than like the flood early on from the carrier, but then everybody kind of just left us alone, and we got a good crossfire set up, and we got to just obliterate everybody. But I hope this shows the strengths and potential weaknesses of the Borodino. Would I necessarily go out and get it? I wouldn't spend a whole bunch of money to get it personally, but it's up to you guys. I never tell you how to spend your money. I just try to give you the information you need to make an informed decision. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.